Okay, this is type 5, the non-monic trinomial. So we're going to do this two ways. We're going to use the little trick that we learned in class, or we're going to do grouping. Grouping I will do at the very end. So if you don't like it, you don't want to see it, then you can just stop watching at that point. The trick said to take the first number and move it to the end. So you're going to multiply the last number by the first number. So you multiply the 15 by 2, makes it 30. You have now turned it from type 5 into type 2. Now I have a 1 in the front. So now you can factor it just like you did before. Put the x, put the signs. I know I need a plus and a minus. They must be different. So the way that you multiply to be 30 and make a 7 in the middle would be to have a 10 and a 3. Positive 10 take away 3 is positive 7, and 10 times 3 is 30. So I know my numbers are good. Now, the problem is that I wasn't supposed to have a 30 there. I'm supposed to have a 15 there. My number is 2 times too big. So I have to divide by the 2 that I multiplied by. So you take each number that's there and you divide them by the 2. Now, if they divide evenly, then you divide them. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Perfect. Divides evenly. If it doesn't divide, the number on the bottom has to go up there in front of that x. Now, just to show you why it moves. If you had this thing, there's a fraction there, and you want to clear the fraction. Well, if I multiply everybody by 2, that will clear the fraction, right? You times it by 2, but you have to multiply everybody by 2. That's why this 2 ends up in front of there. I really just multiplied this and this by 2, and the 2's crossed out, so the 2 ends up in the front. So 2x and x makes 2x squared. In the middle, you get a positive 10 and a negative 3. That's the 7, and then 5 times 3 makes the 15. So that is the first one. And I'm going to do a couple more. So here's the second one. You have 4x squared minus 5x minus 6. So again, I'm going to use the trick. I always make a copy of it. I'm going to take the number in front and I'm going to move it to the end. So I'm going to do 4 times 6. So that gives me 24 at the end. Now, again, I have to factor. So I need to do my signs and I need to do my pairs. So I put x, x. I need a negative and a positive, right? My signs have to be different, and I always put that one first. So now I need a pair that multiply to 24, but when I minus them, when I subtract them, I make a 5. So 1 and 24 don't work. 2 and 10 don't work. So then you have 3 and 8. 8 take away 3 is 5. So that's my pair, 8 and 3. This is important that you're able to do this part. This is the whole key. You have to get the right pair. If you put the wrong pair here, the problem's going to be wrong. Now, I multiplied 6 by 4. So these numbers are off by a factor of 4. That's what I multiplied by. So the opposite of timesing by 4 is to divide by 4. So you divide the 4 out. So 8 divided by 4, yay, it's 2. But you can't divide 3 by 4. So all you can do is go put that 4 in front of the x. Pow. And again, look, 4x times x, 4x squared. The first guy times the first guy makes the first guy. Negative 2 times positive 3 is negative 6. Now make your foil rainbow in the middle, right? Inner, outer. That's the rainbow. Negative 2 and 4 make the negative 8, and then positive 3, x. Negative 8 plus 3, negative 5x in the middle. So you know that it works, okay? And there's no reason, you don't have to foil the whole thing, but you should check that the inner and the outer make the middle like it's supposed to. All right, I'm going to do one more easy one. So this is the third one that I did in the class. So again, 9x squared minus 11x plus 2. Multiply the last number by 9, move the 9 to the end. I mean, I'm basically moving it there. So 9 times 2 makes 18. Now I have to put my signs, pick the pair. So I'm going to put x, I'm going to put x. My signs have to be the same. You have a positive at the end, so the signs match. So I'm going to put a negative and a negative. Now I need my pair. 1 and 18 is not going to make 11. When you add them, right, you're going to add the numbers. You have 6 and 3, but that doesn't add up to be 11. So the only pair that multiplies to 18 that adds to 11 is 9 and 2. Negative 9, negative 2, they add up to make negative 11. Now, you need to do something else. I multiplied that by 9. So I have to divide by 9. Whatever you multiplied by, whatever number was in the front is what you divide by. 9 divided by 9, 1. 2 is not divisible by 9. Go move his butt up there. X times 9x, boom, 9x squared. In the middle, -9. At the end, -2. And then -1 times a -2 plus 2. Yay! It works. All right, now we're gonna do a harder one. Now I'm gonna work 2 harder ones. And this is not one that I worked in the class today. So this is a bonus one. So now this is gonna be tricky because when I multiply 15 by 4, I'm gonna get 60. Wow, that's a big number. Well, we can handle 60. We've done it before. So I'm going to help you out here. I know it's negative and plus. Now, to make a 4, I mean, it should be kind of obvious. 10 and 6. If you subtract 10 and 6, you make a 4. 10 times 6 is 60. So, wow, that was hard. Now, this is where it gets tricky. My original number was a 4. I multiplied this by 4. So I know I need to divide by 4. This is where it gets hard. If you try to move these numbers up now, you're going to have 4x here and 4x there. 4x times 4x is not 4x squared. And at the end, if you were to take this 4 up and this 4 up, you'd have a 10 there and a 6 there. 10 times 6 is not 15. So this doesn't work if you leave it like this. What you have to do is reduce these fractions to lowest terms. So 10 and 4 are both divisible by 2. So I want you to cut them in half. Half of 10 is 5. Half of 4 is 2. Now the other one, again, cut them in half. Half of 6 is 3. Half of 4 is 2. Just like that. Now move them up. The 2 goes in the front. The 5 stays where it is. The 2 goes in the front. The 3 stays where it is. There's no way this works. 2x times 2x, 4x squared. 5 times 3, 15. Make the rainbow. Negative 10x. Positive 6x. Right? 2 times 3. Negative 10 plus 6. Negative 4 in the middle. Yay! It worked. So this one was much more advanced because you must reduce these fractions. If you don't reduce those, this trick won't work. All right, you must reduce. Okay, this is the final one that I worked in the class, and it's the last one that I'm going to do before I do the grouping. I will do 2 of them with grouping. So if you don't want to watch that, then you stop watching. So I'm going to multiply the 3 by 8, and I'm going to get x squared plus 10x plus 24. Now you got to be careful with your signs. The last number is a positive. That means that the signs are the same. And the cool thing is, if everyone here is a plus, then everyone down there is a plus. So if I have plus plus at the top, I have plus plus at the bottom. So the only way that you can multiply 2 numbers, now you got to be careful because I know that 12 take away 2 is 10, but my pair is not going to be 12 and 2, right? 12 and 2 can definitely make 10. But since I'm adding my pairs, it's going to be 6 and 4. And now again, what do you divide by? You divide by 8. You have to be super, super careful. Again, this has to be reduced. 6 and 8 are even numbers, meaning you can divide them by 2. Half of 6 is 3. Half of 8 is 4. And now move the 4 up. So that's the first one. Now the second one I'm going to be a lot more careful with. What I see people do there, I want you to avoid this mistake. I will see people take this and go, oh, it's 2. And then they write 2. The problem is that 4 divided by 8, hear me, 4 divided by 8 is not 2. All right, 8 divided by 4 is 2. This is a half. So you have to make sure you write it correctly. It's 1 over 2, right? 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 1/2. You cannot put a 2 there. If you put a 2 here, you're screwed. It's over. You did it wrong. And you would see that it doesn't work. So this 2 has to come up and make 2x plus 1. If you had written x, let's say you did that. Let's say you did 4 divided by 8 and you wrote a 2 there. Let's pretend we did the silliness. I want you to see how easily you can tell this fails. 4x times x, not 8x squared. 3 times 2, not 3. It doesn't work. Don't even make the rainbow. I mean, 3 times 2 is not 3. So it does not work. So you have to be very careful. So here it's 2x plus 1. Now check it. 4x, 2x, 8x squared. 3 times 1, 3. In the middle, you get 6. At the end, you get 4. 6 plus 4, 10. Bing. Done. All right. I'm about to group. So if you don't want to see grouping, stop watching. All right. So these are the 2 that I've decided to do with grouping. All right. I have a more basic one and a more complicated one. The grouping requires you to do a tremendous amount of work on the side, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the middle term and I'm going to split it up into 2. And then I'll have 4 terms, and I'm going to group the first 2, group the last 2. That's why they call it grouping. So what you do is you take the first number and you multiply it by the last number. So I'm still going to do 4 times negative 15, and I get negative 60. Now I have to figure out 2 numbers whose product is negative 60, that when I subtract them, I get negative 4. This is the same thing we just did. So I need negative 10 and I need positive 6, right? Negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4. So this you do on the side. Now I'm going to take that middle number. I'm going to take this dude here, and I'm going to write him as negative 10x plus 6x. You say, well, this is so stupid. What the hell are you doing that for? But this is how the grouping works. You take the middle guy and you split him up, doing this on the side. I must see this. This is important that you do this side work to figure out, I mean, how do you split this up? I mean, look, I could do this way. Why not do negative 7 plus 3? That makes 4. You know, why 10 and 6? Because negative 10 times 6 makes negative 60 when you multiply them, and when you subtract them, you make a 4. It's, you know, you're not, there's plenty of numbers. You know, I could have picked, you know, negative 12 plus 8. This makes negative 4, but 12 times 8 is not 60. You need the numbers to multiply to be 60 and make the 4 in the middle. That's why this is the part that's very tricky. Now, all you have to do is take these 2 and take these 2, figure out what they have in common. I mean, again, you can just, you're going to factor the greatest common factor from those 2, and then you're going to factor it from those 2. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is a lot more complicated, but this is the grouping method. I can divide these by 2x. So I'm going to divide them each by 2x. So divide by 2x, divide by 2x. Put what you get left in parentheses. 4 divided by 2 is 2. X squared over x is x. You get minus. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and the x is crossed out. Now, what does 6 and 15 have in common? Like nothing. No, they're both divisible by 3. So you can put a 3 in the front. 6x divided by 3 is 2x. You better get the same thing. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Perfect. Now I have 2x minus 5 here, and I have 2x minus 5 there. So what you do is you put it in the front, and you divide it away. You don't actually have to show it. You can just basically cross it out. And you get left a 2x, and you get left a plus 3. When you divide this away from each one and move it in the front, there you go. Rewrite the middle term, which is tricky. You have to do a lot of work on the side to figure out what to rewrite it as. Group the first 2, group the last 2, take the GCF, and then factor it out one more time. Again, is it more complicated? Yes, it's more complicated. More people do this method wrong. I've seen more mistakes with people attempting to do this than any other method. Now, again, I'm going to group on this one. On the side, I'm going to take 2, and I'm going to multiply it by negative 15. And it gives me negative 30. Now I'm looking to split the 7 up with 2 numbers that multiply to be 30, that when I subtract them, I make a 7. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing. Positive 10 take away 3 is 7. And 10 times 3 make 30. So that's going to be how I want to split it up. So I'm going to take the 7x in the middle, and I'm going to write it as 10x minus 3x. Now you're going to be very careful when you factor here. So group the first two. What do they have in common? Well, I can factor out a 2x. What's left? I get x. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay. Now here, you have to be real careful. Say, oh, divide them by 3, divide them by 3. But if you divide them by 3, you get negative x minus 5. That doesn't match this. You have to make the parentheses have to match exactly so you can cross them out and put them in the front. They have to be the same. So the only way to do that there is to factor out a negative 3. This is very, very tricky, and a lot of people get this part wrong. You have to divide the negative out. So negative and a negative make a positive, right? The negative 3's crossed out, and you get a positive x. Negative 15 divided by negative 3 is positive 5. You see how I made them match? These must be identical. If they're not, then this didn't work. Now put the x plus 5 in the front, right? What I'm really doing is I'm dividing away the x plus 5, right? You have a common factor. I'm dividing it out. And those cross out, and you're left with 2x, and then you're left with negative 3. Now, if you watch this for fun, you can see it's certainly more complicated than the little trick that I showed you avoids having to do this part. This is the part that's really advanced. This what I did up here is built into the other problem. By just taking that number and multiplying the last number by it, and then factoring the type 2, you hit this pair much easier, and you don't have to worry about grouping. You just divide those numbers and reduce, and boom, it comes out. But if you're comfortable doing this and you think you could do it right, this is why I'm showing it to you. I mean, I taught it to you. It's in the class notes. So I would encourage you to do the one that you feel more comfortable with and the one that makes more sense in your head that you understand. All right, so there it is. Enjoy.